time is the only resource we cannot get back. We can go and make more money. I can get a new car. I can buy a new house. Like, it may not seem that way to your brain at first, but you can always make more money. I can never get the time back with my 3-year-old who's soon to be 4.
Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larson. If you haven't yet, get a copy of our book for free at our website, nextlevelincome.com. That's www.nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link, and I'll even send you a copy if you put your address in. On today's show, we have Shannon Logan. Shannon is an entrepreneur, wellness expert, and executive coach with over a decade of experience. Based in Annapolis, Maryland, she spent 10 years successfully owning and running a fitness studio before transitioning to help high-achieving women create lives that truly align with their purpose through the Whole Woman Reset. This transformative program guides women through burnout, recovery, balance, and self-discovery, ultimately empowering them to reclaim their energy and harmonize their body, mind, and spirit. Passionate about personal growth, Shannon combines her entrepreneurial expertise with wellness strategies to help clients build sustainable systems that ultimately lead to lasting fulfillment. Outside of coaching, she enjoys outdoor adventures with her husband and daughter, staying active and living a life rooted in her core values. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for your time.
I'm so excited to have you as well. We were chatting a little bit before the show, and I'm so excited to share what you're doing with our audience. It's such a small world. You're right down the road from where I grew up in Maryland. It's amazing, which is how we connected a couple years ago when we first met.
I know, it's crazy. We had to go all the way to Cancun to find out that your sister went to high school with my husband, and we're still in that hometown that they grew up in. And it's crazy. It's a crazy small world. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. And actually, when this comes out that weekend, here in a few weeks, my son and I are going to be up there for a lacrosse camp right down the road in Severn, Maryland. So back to our hometown. We wonder sometimes maybe we should move back up there for lacrosse, but we like it down here in Asheville. Shannon, tell the audience a little bit before we dive in, more about your background, about your education, like you got there on the wall that we were chatting about, and what you're up to today.
Absolutely. So thanks, Chris. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm excited to chat with you today. As Chris said, my name is Shannon Logan, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. I own my own business here in town, a brick and mortar gym for over a decade, and I recently just sold it this past fall. And I've transitioned more into one-on-one life coaching and business coaching as well. So I am blessed enough to be one of the coaches on Craig Ballantyne's mentor group team, and they are just fantastic. And I started working with them about 2 years ago, and they transformed how I did business. So I feel blessed to be part of their team. And now what I'm doing on my own as well is more of a life coach aspect, because what I found as I grew my business, especially through COVID, gyms had a rough time in 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
And I also had a daughter at that time. So everything kind of came full steam at once. But what I was able to do when I really took time to kind of reflect on what was important to me and how I wanted to live my life, I was able to double my income and triple our profit at work while staying home and caring for my daughter for the first two years of her life. So, which is crazy when you think about a gym and being a mom and all of that in COVID as well. And so what I found through that time was there are so many demands on female business owners that are unique, especially if they're moms. And I had lots of clients because I've been in the health and fitness field for close to 20 years now. And I worked with countless women that were trying to, quote unquote, juggle it all, right? Like make it all work. And I had clients that would come in and they would say, after 10, 15 years, they would wake up and look at themselves and not really know who they were. As I became a mom and I started to try to juggle all of the things that involves with marriage and business and God forbid myself, I started to see exactly what they were talking about. And so I kind of really dove into how can I provide for my family, be there the way I want to mentally and physically, but also know who I am and love that person at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it is very easy just to give, 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 give as a mom, as a wife,
Yes.
as a business owner,
Yeah.
and then wonder where the hell you went in that whole process.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my brain was just exploding with, kind of flashbacks to things that my wife and I, kind of saw and went through. And first off, like COVID, how old are your kids now, Shannon? I know you're battling a little bit of maybe a virus or some cooties there from one of your younger ones, right?
Yes, so if you hear me, I'm all congested and stuff, and I apologize. My daughter is soon to be four. She's soon to be
Yeah.
four. So
Yeah.
we're hoping and praying that we're blessed with a second. That's been, on our agenda for
Yeah.
a while now, but
Yeah.
we'll see if two comes along. But I have a 4-year-old right now that, or
Oh.
soon to be 4-year-old that, hates to share, except when it comes to germs and her mom.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. Well, fortunately, you didn't have to go through COVID with your kids in school. I know you had the gym scene. I know how challenging that was. We met just a couple years ago. You were still in that, so I was so thrilled when you came on board with Craig's team as a coach, and I was really excited. I immediately said you got to come on the podcast. Shannon, one of the things that immediately popped into my head was after we had our second son. We have two boys about 2 years apart. They're almost 15 and 13 now. And my wife goes back to work, Jess, who you've talked to and you've met, and she said, "Okay, I want to go back to work. Don't want to stay home." I said, "Great. I want you to continue to have your career." She's an architect, and we put our boys in daycare, which some people are like, "Oh, I would never do that," but it was nice from a social aspect for the boys. So at the end of the year, I'm doing the math, and I came up with this number. It was $11,000, and that was how much we netted after my wife worked and we paid taxes, and the boys went to daycare. But the important part is there was a negative in front of that. It cost us $11,000. Yeah, it cost us. So I showed my wife this, and I said, "Jess," and she looked at. She's like, "Oh, we only made 11,000." I said, "You're missing the negative." And I said, "It's actually costing us money for you to work after taxes." And it's so unfortunate. I'm hoping that, there's some things that we can do in this country to encourage specifically professionals and producers to have more children because it's economically very challenging. So that fortunately created this situation where we said, okay, how are we going to grow her business as an architect and really still have the same family values that we have? And what I found, Shannon, is this problem is really ubiquitous when it comes to professional couples. What have you seen in your practice and your experience?
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's
Yeah,
point blank everywhere.
yeah,
And I have colleagues that did that same math and didn't go back to work, you know.
yeah,
And not to say that they don't absolutely love their kids and they love
yeah,
being home and it's the most important thing that they do.
yeah,
At the same time, they feel like they miss part of themselves with it too,
yeah,
And
yeah,
what I have found is that couples and moms they take it on. And what tends to happen is that whether it's society that puts this pressure on them or if it's just kind of internal, we expect ourselves as professionals and also moms to
yeah.
be 100% on in both realms, as if we have the other one at home.
Yes,
And
yeah,
so, like, what I mean by that is I'm supposed to go and be awesome at work as if, like, my daughter had been homesick for the last 3 days.
yeah,
And then I'm supposed
yeah,
to come home from work and pick her up and be with her and act like I'm on cloud nine and I'm
yeah,
full of energy and excitement to be with her and I'm tuned in and I can cook all the great meals in the whole world as if I haven't been working a full day.
yeah,
And so there's this whether it's society or internal like expectation of 100% across the board. And at the end of the day, each one of those roles, and we haven't talked about being a spouse in this, by the way, each
yeah.
one of those roles
Right.
it is a full-time job.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so what I
And all
kind
all
of
challenging in their own right. I mean, it's
100%.
hard being married without kids. It's hard being a business owner, without kids or before you're married. You throw all these together. It's intensely complex and challenging.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so what I kind of walk my clients through in my program, whole woman reset is our set portion stands for self, energy, and time.
Ooh, self, energy, and time. I'm writing these
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
All right, so let's walk through those because, as you were saying, men face challenges out there in the workforce, but I think women. It's different. It's actually more challenging for women, I think, in a lot of aspects because I think a lot of women, as my wife did, they feel the pressure to be there as a
Yeah.
mother, be around children when they're younger. Don't necessarily want to give up their careers, but at the same time, if they do stay home, they end up giving up earnings potential and do
Yeah.
those things. So, how do you
Yeah.
use your self energy time framework to help women kind of reset and focus on the well rounded or holistic aspect of being a
There you go.
professional woman? Yeah,
Yeah, so you find that comes first, right? Because I believe that everything else will suffer if you as a person, first of all, don't know who you are and don't know what's important to you.
yes,
So when we talk about self, we dive in deep and we say, hey, what are values that you want to live your life by?
yeah,
What are the top 4 to 5 ones?
yeah,
And oftentimes they give me a list and they look great on paper, right? They're like
yeah.
they're all the ones that we want to hear: love and family and trust and etc. And then we look at, okay, are you actually living by those? Like how much
Mm,
time and
yeah,
money are behind each one of those? Because
yes,
that's how you know if it's in sync or not, is where your time and where your money goes.
I like that. Yeah,
Right. And so right off the bat, we can see, oh, like, of course you're conflicted with yourself because you want to be like faithful when it comes to spiritual or God or things like that.
yeah.
But you don't have a practice. You don't have time. You don't
Mm,
have investments in that. So while your soul might crave that piece of yourself, not actually where you're spending attention, and as a result, there's a disconnect there.
yeah.
And so we go through values,
Hmm.
then we go through vision, because again, I find so much of our society, almost every single person I talk to at first, comes from a place of reacting when they wake up.
Reacting. That's a great point. Yeah. I was just having this conversation with my son. I said,
Yep.
you need to learn to be proactive instead of reactive. What a great point.
Yep. So
Yeah.
so we wake up and within 5 minutes we pick up our phones and we start reacting to things that are on there. The
Hmm.
text, the emails, the DMs,
Yeah.
and we just kind of spend our whole day in that realm.
Yeah.
And then it's no wonder when we get done at night, we feel fried,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, if we have a vision, if we
Yes.
know where we want to be in 1, 3, 5, and 10 years,
Yeah.
then we use that to like reverse engineer how our weeks go
Yes.
and build what I call a North Star. So
I love
that
that.
you have a guide every day when you wake up to know, like, here's my purpose. Here's how I support that today. And I have a filter for all the choices I have to make based on my values and vision. As Craig
Yes.
always says, it's a awesome
Yeah.
saying: values and vision drive every decision.
Values and vision drive every decision. And I love what you said about that North Star, Shannon, because that's the same thing we do with our coaching clients. And one thing I found that's consistent, and I love it. I just got a call from one of my younger clients. We haven't worked together for the past couple of years. We reconnected. And actually, we spoke Saturday because he was in the middle of a big kind of career opportunity. And he goes, Chris, I went and looked at my 3 year vision and I blew it away. And what I found that's consistent, Shannon, is my coaching clients that spend the time to figure out what that vision is are more successful in like unequivocally. It's not even like by a factor of 2. It's like by like a factor of 10. And I think what happens is that because we're in this reactive society, because we're not taught to, create a vision, we fall prey to the whims of what we think we're supposed to do, and it pulls us
100%.
here and it pulls us there, and then we're not feeling settled and we're not feeling fulfilled because we're doing what we think we're supposed to do, not what we actually want to do. And
100%.
one of the big challenges is that you see this. It's like, wait, What's your goal as an athlete? You know, as you said, you work with your coaching clients in the gym and say, okay, we measure our metrics. We don't do this in our own lives. We don't do it as a spouse, as a partner, and a lot of business owners, they do it in the corporate space, but we don't do it, kind of on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what I find too is people do it at the first of the year
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then they forget about it.
yeah,
And so what I build in there for myself and I teach my clients is we build out values and vision and
yes.
then we spend time in them every single week.
Every
So I
single
just
week. Yeah,
need, yeah, I just
yeah,
need you once a week. Grab a
yeah,
cup of coffee, grab a glass of wine, by yourself, sit on the porch and just read through what you wrote
yeah,
and let yourself feel it. Like let yourself feel
yeah,
all the good vibes that come from that
yeah.
because that will actually pull it closer to you. I just got goosebumps as I talked about it
Yes,
actually. Um,
love it.
and it'll help you stay inspired. It'll help you stay on
Yeah,
track on days where, you don't want to do the work.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you spend time in it once a week, then it's really hard to get far off course.
yes. Yeah, I love that, and yeah, coming back to that vision, coming back to that North Star, and I love the goosebumps analogy because your vision should give you goosebumps, right? About where you're going, and doing that. And look, Michelle Duckworth writes about this in Grit. You know, the people that are successful, athletes, business owners, musicians, they're the ones that have that vision clearly in mind and continue to push forward, even on those days that they really don't want to do it. And how do you, I know this is a big one as accountability. So, how do you help your clients get back on track when they're kind of like stuck in a rut, for instance? And I'm
Yeah.
asking for myself. I was last year had just a really challenging year. What are some of the tactics that you help with people, that are in a position like I was last year to help them get back on track, re-inspired, re-energized?
It's great. First of all, like they're allowed to rest. Like I
Yeah,
talk about rest.
yeah,
Because again, in our society, people don't really rest. They
yeah,
are taking in info, whether it can be a podcast, whether it's,
yeah,
Instagram or social or email, like we're on our phones. So really like finding, reflecting back on what rest is for them
yeah,
and allowing themselves to do that because
yeah,
there is a continual sense of burnout that all my clients feel. It's like
yeah,
they're trying to tread water until they get to the next thing,
yeah,
but the next thing is the next thing is the next thing is the next thing.
yeah,
So it's okay to say, you know what, like I'm gonna take a day, I'm gonna take a week, I can take a month. It depends on what's happening, and I'm
yeah,
gonna allow myself to rest, and I'm gonna be okay with that because
yeah.
I know like long term I come back better for it.
I love that.
And then we go back to like why they started this in the first place, and that's something that we do through values and vision as well as we get to the real crux of why. Like, why do they want to build this business, come back to themselves,
Yeah,
be this type of mom, etc.? Like, what is at the root of that?
yeah.
And so I actually have 10 years of sobriety as well. And so in that process, I've
Congratulations.
worked 12 steps.
Yeah,
And so that's actually what I do with my clients too, is that we take 12 steps of recovery and we transfer them into burnout. And so as clients walk those 12 steps with me, they get to know themselves in a way that they never have before,
mm,
and they build a new identity. And so as long as they come at it from a place of, I'm charged enough to do this because I've rested,
yeah,
I review like why I'm here in the first place,
yeah.
and my identity has changed, then we just break it down into by day, small
Yes,
goals
yes,
until they get back into that bigger flow.
yeah,
Because especially for business owners, especially for mom, all we see is this mountain. We see this gigantic mountain, and we're like, holy hell, how am I gonna get up that thing? I'm exhausted.
yeah,
But my job is to make it simple, because as I talked about back in California for Craig's Mastermind,
yeah.
simple is sustainable, which is equal to success.
Simple, sustainable success.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
that helps again if we break it down into just daily wins. Like what can we do today to win the day?
yeah,
And you do that 7, 14, 21 days in a row, now people are just on fire and they feel like they
yeah,
can run through a wall.
yeah. No, I love that. And again, going back to the athlete analogy, successful athletes, they're not the ones that train the hardest. They're the ones that rest appropriately so that they can maintain that pace and that energy and be injury free. And
Right.
that's what I always found when I was coaching cycling clients is my clients didn't have a hard time training more. They had a hard time resting more so that they could actually be more focused and go harder. And very, very great analogy that's also applicable, especially, if you're a parent, if you're a spouse, if you're a
Yeah.
business owner and
Yep.
doing this. So we talked about the importance of self and that vision, how to maintain that energy, Shannon. You also, your third piece of the set was time. Talk a
Mm,
little bit about how, you know, women, we as parents can balance our time between, being a business owner, but not maybe feeling guilty about missing something with our kids or
mhm.
managing our time so we don't have to miss those events with our kids, but still feel like we're not giving up our success on our
Yeah.
business side.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things I talk about a lot is how much is your time worth? Like, if you were sit down and think about that, keep it in
Yeah.
mind that time is the only resource we cannot get back.
Yeah.
Like, you can go and make more money. I can get a new car, I can buy a new house. Like,
Hmm.
it may not seem that way to your brain at first, but you can always make more money. I can never get the time back with my 3-year-old who's soon to be 4.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't get my 30s back. Right? Like,
Yeah.
time is essential. So I actually walk my clients through how much their time is worth from a productivity standpoint. Like, not how much they make per se, but how much their
Yeah.
time is worth, that if they were tuned in, felt great, was focused, was their best self, how
Yeah.
much money could they bring in for their company, for
Yeah.
their business, for themselves.
Yeah.
And then once we look at that, we're like, wow, like, we're actually losing money by
Mm.
by trying to take on all these things that aren't really our roles to do.
Yeah.
And so, from a business owner, like, you hear all business mentors talk about working on the business, not in the business, right? Of course. So
Yep.
we have
Yep.
to get out of that. But also, like, working on your home, not in your home.
Right. Yeah.
So as moms, we think that we should do it all. We should do the laundry, we should do the cooking, we should do the cleaning, we should do the carpool, we should do the yard work. Like, we should stay, or our husbands should do the yard work. Um, and like, we should stay on top of all of that grocery
Yeah.
shopping, like the puzzle
Yeah.
pieces to
Yeah.
make all that work on top of a job, on top of like wanting to spend time with the people you love. It's
Yeah.
it's a maze every single week.
Yeah.
So I go through and I say, all right, look, our time is worth, let's say, on a low end, on a very, 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 very low end. The U.S. Bureau of Labor says that the average worker has $120 per hour of productivity. Okay.
$120 per hour of productivity.
Yeah.
That's a great number. Okay.
Okay. So that's like an average worker. Most people I
Yeah.
talk to that own their own businesses are not that,
Yeah.
right? So then I look at what I do if I work from home or I work from an office in between all the work stuff. I run errands, I go grocery shopping, I do my kids' laundry, I do pickup, I do all this stuff. And then I look at, hey, like, I was to outsource that, what would that look like? So that's what I've started to do. Like, I go through my time once a week and I say, hey, where did I leak time that not only, like, it did cost me money because it's not within my realm, but it cost me headspace. It cost me
Yeah.
time with my kid, like,
Yeah.
simple stuff. So if you're on YouTube and you can actually see the screen, you'll see
Yeah.
I've got plaques up in my office. And so I was like, what? I could hang those. I'll probably punch a hole in the wall. They won't be straight. It'll take me too long. Or I just go on TaskRabbit, have someone come. I pay them $50. They're out. They're done well.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
do that for almost everything. For laundry, I outsource. We take our dog to doggy daycare twice a week, or I have a dog walker because he's a year old and he's insanely
Yeah.
hyper, and
Yeah.
I need some help. I need some
Yeah.
help, you know. We have a chef come in once per week that cooks our meals for the week. And at first,
Awesome.
my
Yeah.
husband was like, "Do you really think we need this?" And I looked at him. I go, "Well, here's the deal. I pick our daughter up after I've worked, and I come home and I got to figure out dinner. And
Hmm.
and at this point she was 2. I was like, she's 2 years old. She's climbing. She's pulling. Like she has to get hurt. I want to be with her. I'm an okay cook. I'm not a great cook. And it's like it spends so much time trying to figure out what to cook, when to cook, shopping for it,
Yeah.
and it costs
It's
us
not
like
just the time for a meal. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, it costs us
Yeah.
like 350 per week, including groceries, to have someone come in and cook for us. And she does an
Wow.
incredible job.
That's like 2 meals out for a family of 4 these days at a decent restaurant. That's amazing. Yeah.
It's insane, and she
Yeah.
cooks better than I do. So my husband's happy every night because he's full with great food. It's healthier, and it takes probably 4 to 6 hours off of my plate every single week.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that in
Yep.
terms of when you start to really value your time and
Yeah.
you're intentional with it, you can free up a lot more than you think.
Yeah. No, it is amazing. And, I love the time inventory that you do
Yeah.
and figuring out, okay, what are these like $10, $20 an hour tasks that you're out there doing? And it really highlights things. And we've incorporated a lot of these same rules around our house. When our kids were younger, we realized we're literally shuttling our kids around 2 to 3 hours a day, and they're trying to get homework done in the back seat. We're trying to have a call. We're trying to, kind of keep things together at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was not quality time whatsoever. And just having somebody help out a couple hours a day, get the kids at school, take them to practices. By the time they were home, their homework was done. I got to finish my day and go to my sauna and relax. And then next thing you know, we have a wonderful, family
Yep.
time and actually
Yep.
made more money. So
There you
it's,
go.
yeah. So how do you,
Exactly.
as we kind of wrap up here, Shannon, one of the things that I know it's been a challenge, for me and my wife and probably other people too, is say, well, wait a minute. If I have kids, like I feel guilty not,
Mm-hmm.
not doing that. Like, I don't want to hire somebody to take my kids around. I,
Yeah.
I feel guilty about having somebody, cook my food or do my yard work. How do you overcome, things like that? That internal voice that's saying, no, 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 this isn't right.
Craig, sorry. Chris, a fantastic question. Like that was actually going to be my next point is that
Yeah.
when I bring this up to moms,
Yeah.
they're like, "Wait a second. Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing?" Like
Right. Right.
I thought
Yeah.
that's my kind of role as a mom or as a wife.
Yeah.
And that's when we go back to our vision and our values. And I'll go, look, it's not that it's not. And if you want to do these things, if they bring you pure joy,
Yeah.
then that's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Like
But
working in my garden. I like to work in my garden. I'm not going to hire somebody to do that. That's like that brings me energy and a little bit of sun. Um, but mulching my yard, might hire somebody to do that.
right. And so we work through the guilt standpoint, and that's
Yeah.
where like those 12 steps come into play too,
Yeah.
because we start to talk about, hey, where's that voice coming from? Like, who does it sound like? Is it someone that you've met in your life before? Is it your parents maybe, which is what we hear a lot? Is it
Yeah.
your mother-in-law? Like, where's that voice coming from?
Yeah.
And then working on trying to reframe it. So every time that a negative self-talk comes up, now this is in line with that they want to get these tasks off their plate. They're
Yeah.
like, no, I don't actually enjoy these things. I just think
Yeah.
I should
Yeah.
be. Then we come up with like that mantra based off of what their own gifts and their purpose is.
Yes.
Because if we go back to that over and over again, just like our values and our vision,
Mm.
then we are constantly aligned with who God put us on this planet to be,
I love that.
and we feel more fulfilled. And we can
Yeah.
come home after our workday in our sauna and be a better version of ourselves and be there for our kids because, like, we did the work we needed to do to show up for our purpose as well.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think, by the fact that you are giving your clients the structure, Shannon, the perspective, I think a lot of people haven't really explored this and said, wait a minute, like what can I actually, achieve if I outsource some of these things? Or maybe they
Mm-hmm.
haven't even explored the cost or the true cost,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, right? And
Right.
thinking about it like a business owner, which I think is fantastic. And listen, I know we've talked about how this relates to women, female entrepreneurs, mothers, but everything you're saying is applicable to anybody out there that's a professional, a business owner,
Absolutely.
especially those parents. Shannon, if people want to learn more about what you do and your program, tell us a little bit about the Whole Woman Reset, as well as best ways to get a hold of you.
Great. Yes. So I do a one-on-one coaching program, Whole Woman Reset. It's between a 6 to 12 month program where we dive in deep to all these things. And what's great is that you have that structure, you have that support with me and other women just like you that are walking through this. And we meet twice a month on Zoom, but I also stay in contact with you through the whole month. I'm not stalking you, but I'm just making sure that you're okay. And
Yeah.
we work through time, energy, self, so that every week you have, micro steps to becoming that better version of yourself. And I look at the whole picture. So we talk about health, fitness,
Yeah.
nutrition, time, energy, and of course, who you're put on this planet to be. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Shannon Logan. Also, my website is coachshannonlogan.com.
Perfect. And we'll have these links in the show notes here. And look, if you're listening, Shannon's a stud. She has a great platform that she came from the fitness world. She understands not only how to be healthy, but how to be successful in the business world and how to put it all together. So check Shannon out at the links that she just gave here. And Shannon, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience today.
Thank you, Chris, for the time. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.